Several people pointed and screamed in surprise, seeing 4 rare silver slime monsters. They tried to keep quiet, careful not to scare the valuable beasts away. Just then, a young man dashed past everyone, completely ignoring the warnings to be quiet and strategic. The adventurer hits with a critical attack, breaking the core into pieces. Continuing his flow of strikes, the rest of the slime soon fall like the first. Yuki's S-rank sword shines in the light rays as he finishes his assault. For this way, he earns S-rank slime armor, gauntlets, and shoes. As the item sparkled on the ground, the other adventurers looked on in shock, unable to believe that they were all taken down in one hit, even dropping pretty rare equipment in the process. They stared at the adventurer in awe of how lucky he was. Looking at his storage, even Yuki was struggling to believe his fortune. It's too good to be true, but it's also as if he were being rewarded for all the hardships of his past life. Back then, he reached the old age of 85, but was still a bronze rank adventurer. In the Tokyo dungeon's first floor, countless adventurers walked around with a worried expression. Just then, one man held his phone up, alerting everyone to an enormous monster attack, causing destruction outside the dungeons. The beast destroyed man-made structures. They consider going deeper inside, but those areas would be running rampant as well. Seeing Yuki, they worried about the old man and tried to tell him to escape with them. However, he merely swatted their hands away and walked towards the slime monsters while ignoring their calls. Having made a reputation, the others leave the man alone as is someone whose status never goes up. Some dashing away bumped against his body, aggressively telling him to move it. Decades have probably passed since the founding of the adventurers. It uses a familiar system, but the growth rate varies from person to person. One's level goes up upon defeating monsters, and their status should rise every time that happens. Sometimes, people even receive skills or magic spells to aid their specialty, and that was what people considered the norm in their world. However, he was probably the most unfortunate one. Yuki had reached level 98 after years of hard work, but his stats were all in single digits. He gritted his teeth in anger, scorning the world as he knew that he did his best so that he wouldn't lose anyone else. After spending years grinding and killing monsters, he finally reached a level before the limit and is the only person in history to ever achieve such a feat. Now the old man stood on the plain, staring at the last few slimes he needed to beat, and let go of his fragile broken sword. The maximum level for adventurers is level 99, and he believed that reaching that would make all his effort worth it. With a deep breath, he charged in, certain that his status was just a late bloomer and needed some faith. Holding on to this idea, he tore the monster apart with his hands and mouth. Finally, his body glowed, and a little arrow pointing up appeared above his body. He had done it. Yuki raised his trembling hands, waiting to be rewarded for all these hardships. While he clasped his hands in prayer, his strength increased by 1 point. The little number pained on his window as if mocking all his effort. He stared for 1 moment, then 2, and stuttered in utter disbelief. The old man dropped to the ground and screamed, questioning his foolish and seemingly doomed fate. Despite all he did, there was nothing for him in the world. Monsters crept near him, but he did nothing after having lost all hope. They circled the hopeless old adventurer, snarling and growling at their next prey. In the end, he lived a horrible life with no retribution. All the others looked down on him, and he couldn't even save his mother, who was the only person who treasured him. What's more, he pulled his precious sister into his misfortune and ruined her life along with his. At least, the terrible experience was all finally over. Granting him wrist-bite, a monster stepped on his entire body, crushing it into mush. As the afterlife processed his death, it realized that a fatal error had occurred in Yuki's status system. His heart beat faintly as it applied a repair patch and rolled back on the old man's life. The heartbeat grew stronger, hidden parameters were released, and unique status points were given as an apology for the error. After a while, he opened his eyes and found himself in a familiar place. A voice congratulated him. He blinked his eyes a few more times, clearing his vision. Finally, she sees the guild receptionist, handing him a badge and registering him as an adventurer. Yuki has been sent back to this exact moment years ago. Looking around in confusion, he's asked if there's something wrong. The young man calms himself down and acts normal as he takes the bronze adventurer badge. Thinking about it, he says it must be the day he registered into the guild and wonders what exactly happened, and he can only remember seeing something about statuses before he died. Calling to the system, he sees that his status is exactly as it was before. Surprisingly, he can scroll down now. His eyes flash and froze in surprise as he read the text written at the bottom. While everything about him was low level, his luck was completely and unprecedentedly maxed out. He screamed in shock, questioning what in the world happened to status. Yuki's luck status, which he doesn't remember existing, was leaped stronger than his other stats. In his past life, it was supposed to be a hidden parameter, and he still can't believe this twist. After all, he's the guy who experienced 70 years of misfortune. He decides to verify the new him by hunting slimes for now. In no time, he reaches the Tokyo dungeon's first floor, unfading footprints. With the sun shining from up high, he finds his target, and their presence makes it feel like home. Suddenly, something moved fast behind him. Getting a glimpse of the creature, he realizes what it might be. It was a silver slime shining and glittering from the bright sunlight. It's an ultra-rare monster that appeared only once in his past life. Moreover, it escaped immediately, not even giving him the chance to fight. It gives enormous amounts of experience points, but is notorious for its quick escapes. Slowly approaching, he needs just one more step to reach with his attack. Just then, the monster disappears in a flash as a foolish adventurer misfires his arrow. It was an extremely rare chance, so he couldn't help but silently curse the young man. To their surprise, the slime dodged, but was still there, flusteredly looking around when it normally would have run from a loud noise. What's even stranger is that it dashed towards his body in an attempt to attack. After circling to his back, the enemy charged forward with the immense speed it calmly used to escape. Fortunately, Yuki was skilled enough to counter, having risen to the top level with his skills alone. A precise thrust hits the target right in its core and causes the slime to explode and splatter throughout the ground. This encounter alone gives him enough experience points to immediately rise 4 levels. That said, the tough monster had caused his blade to break in one hit, so he had to buy a new weapon. While looking through options, something shined brightly from behind him. His eyes opened in shock upon seeing an S-rank sword on the grass, dropped by the slain monster. The attack power was astounding, but there was a considerable chance of missing attacks as a back. With this, he stretches his arms ready to hunt to his heart's content. Without even walking for a few minutes, he encounters 4 more silver slimes, and yet again, they all charge and instead of running away. He has no choice but to try and defeat them, but it won't be easy with a weapon that has an easiness feature. Even so, he swung and slashed. Surprisingly, each and every attack hit as a critical strike, taking all the enemies out in one go. Slaying them all with ease was already lucky, but his new stats proved to be an even bigger deal than expected as each slime drops an S-rank item he can use. The young adventurer looked in awe, surprised that he managed to defeat them all. After that, he continued hunting for about another hour, and the total number of slimes he encountered was 10. In a single afternoon, he was able to fill his entire storage as every single slime dropped a rare item. At this point, he had no choice but to believe that his luck was the real deal. Yuki threw himself back to the ground, smiling widely as he lay on the grass. Taking a moment to think, he gets hopeful that he can finally be someone with this power. This time around, he can make his family happy. His priorities now were his sick mother and, of course, his precious little sister. Jumping up, he realizes that he hasn't even confirmed if he still has a home to return to. In his previous life, he spent 70 years alone. Now he wants to go home and meet his family again. He packed his sword and transported back to the dungeon entrance. In no time, he was speeding across the streets in a rush to reach his old place. Panting and exhausted, the young man finally stopped in front of a set of apartment units. It's been so long that he doesn't remember which room his family owned, and it's also partly because he spent half his life homeless. Fortunately, he sees their surname on a front door. His hand reached out for the knob, trembling and hesitating to turn it. Questioning why he was being so nervous, he tried to calm himself down. Taking a deep breath in, he steeled his determination, but the door opened before he could even take hold. A bright smile greeted him, and the voice of his sweet little sister welcomed him home. Yuki's eyes trembled as it's the first time he's seen his sister in decades. Engulfed in deep emotions, he hugs Nomi tight. Although she questioned what he was doing, she did so while giggling and smiling in his warmth. Her eyes were crescents from happiness despite telling him to let go. However, he refused to let go and hugged her even tighter, now unwilling to let anyone or anything take what was precious to him. For now, Yuki told Nomi everything that he had gone through in life. Instead of being confused, she accepted everything and asked if his luck could save their mother too. All it takes is a little bit of effort, but that was his goal all along. The next day, he exchanged the rare items he obtained for a lot of money and with that bought the highest raid recovery potion he could find. His overwhelming bid silenced everyone and got him the item without troubles. As soon as he obtained it, they made their way to the hospital their mother was in. Knocking and identifying themselves, the 2 children slid the door open, brightly saying that they came to visit. A sickly but beautiful woman sat on the bed and asked how they'd been. With a tender smile, Yuki says they should be the one asking her that. On the other hand, Nomi opens a box of treats, saying they got her some souvenirs. While she thanks her children, she asks that they don't do it again and instead spend money on themselves. Fortunately, she doesn't need to worry about money anymore, and they even have another present for her. The mother looked at them in confusion. It's a bit sudden, but Yuki gives her the potion and asks her to drink it right away. He had just become an adventurer, but he earned big money from a dungeon and bought it for her. The dutiful son brushes it off as being lucky and hands her the magic liquid. She pops it open and takes a big gulp, emptying the contents right away. In an instant, her symptoms and weakness subsided, replaced with unfamiliar strength. To her surprise, she suddenly felt lighter, and even breathing was much easier. With this, he was finally able to smile in relief. Nomi gives him a high five, praising her big brother for a job well done. He gives their mother the treat they bought as a cleanser for the unpalatable potion. Soon enough, her symptoms eased and the progression of the illness stopped. After some time undergoing rehabilitation, she received permission to be discharged for home care. The mere idea of living together as a complete family was just a dream to her before. Now she was happily cooking their food and washing their dishes, and there was nothing that could make her happier. While it's great that she's gotten much better, it still isn't enough for Yuki. The potion she took is only a temporary measure and won't cure the illness completely. Moving forward, his goal is to get something stronger like a legendary L-rank item. An example of this is the elixir. Even Nomi saw it on the television and heard that only top adventurers found the item. For something that can retrieve someone from the brink of death, it's normally found below the 50th floor and cannot be bought with money. The family moved casually, doing the dishes while talking about the rare potion. The elixir is a unique item, meaning it can only be used by those who obtain them. Moreover, it's glory that can only be obtained by defeating a powerful being. If it cannot be bought with money, then they will have to take it from the dungeon themselves. After a moment of silence, the girl asks her brother if he can really go deeper than the 4th threshold. It'd normally be impossible, and frankly speaking, an attempt would have him die a terrible death. She worries immediately upon hearing this, but it's exactly why he said it's normally the case. The power given to him isn't just luck, but also the knowledge accumulated from his long past life. Because of that, he knows that the elixir can also appear on the upper floors and is aware of the exact location. It should be found on the 20th floor boss, the ancient golem. Its unique item drop is the elixir, but the chances of it appearing are extremely low. The potion is a rare drop from a rare boss monster, so it's only natural. In his past life, the occurrence was so special that he only heard about it happening once. That said, the luck he had now would most certainly give him the perfect conditions that are needed. Seeing him think about it, Nomi calls her big brother out for having a scheming expression. While he catches himself, she gives a charming smile, certain that he can do anything he sets his mind to. This is a fact they already know, but he still needs to make a few preparations nonetheless. Such matters might be confusing to her, but it's different for Yuki, whose experienced mind knows that everything has a loophole. Yuki will need to prepare a few things before diving into the dungeon's 20th floor. Starting with his equipment, he equips the slime sword coated with slime tears, which gives him the chance for reduced damage. Seeing his bare-looking outfit, she asks if he'll really be okay, having seen others go in with heavy armor. That's usually the case, but his stats are too low to equip such high-level equipment. The status that increased his luck apparently can't increase any other status area. Because of that, it'll be impossible to fully equip himself with heavy gear. After leveling up with the slimes, he managed to learn a lot of skills, including one for critical attacks. Since he's going to be raising his stats, Nomi thinks about the dungeon's 5th floor, Alice Crown. The monsters there have a rare drop people call the miracle fruit. Seeming to already know this, Yuki walked toward their door, and the siblings shared some final farewells before he left. Lastly, she hands him a lunchbox she prepared, although all the miracle fruit might make him full. The young man accepts it with a grateful heart, and it quickly appears in his storage. Finally, he walked out to head towards their goal. The trees were thick, and while sunlight barely made it in, bioluminescent glows lit the forest. Huge and carnivorous plants ate the insects as Yuki arrived on the dungeon's 5th floor. It's an area mainly filled with plant-type monsters, making it quite easy to get lost. That being said, it's still a shallow layer and has already been conquered by adventurers, meaning there are a bunch of useful maps. After some time walking, he stopped in the middle of a clearing, saying he must have reached the Trayan nest. They are monsters that excel in ambushes after mimicking ordinary trees. Well aware that their mimicry isn't perfect, he picks up a rock from the ground. He aims at the leaves that have no veins or roots that grow in odd directions and throws the projectile. As soon as it hit, a treat suddenly revealed itself, suddenly sprouting multiple legs. It pushed itself up from the soil, showing the horrific monster underneath. The enemy might look intimidating to others, but things are going exactly according to Yuki's plans. Moving forward and swinging his blade, the adventurer deals a critical attack as usual. Trains are easy to deal with. If you know how to avoid ambushes, hearing a light ping, he turns around and sees the rare item drop. He takes the miracle fruit and immediately takes a bite, noting the weak hints of an apple or a pear. That said, the taste doesn't matter, and he confirms what's important upon seeing that his strength rose by 1 point from it. With the boosting effects from the rare fruit, even his trash stats can become strong. He hunted the trints non-stop and ate their drops as much as possible, rinsing and repeating that process. Fortunately, he ate from Nomi's lunchbox a few times after getting bored of the same taste. A lot of time passes, so he checks if he's finally reached his level's growth limit. A quick scan confirms this and that he's reached the strength of an average warrior. Stretching a few tired limbs, the adventurer decides to call it a day for now. However, as he was just about to head home, something spit past behind him. Yuki turned in surprise, letting his instincts take over, and asked who it was. The intruders accuse him of hogging the hunting grounds and say he should be taught a lesson. A couple of sketchy-looking men stared at him, their beady eyes unsettling. Seeing that they had no adventure IDs, he asks if they are crawlers. Not caring much, the smaller man confirms it and notes the rare sword on his back. They offer to spare his life if he leaves the equipment that's clearly out of his league. Despite their arrogance, Yama was out cold on the ground in no time. Yuki sighed in relief as everything activated properly. The attack the enemy used can only be learned at level 25, meaning he was at a higher level than him. In exchange for reduced power, it guarantees an accurate hit that can't be avoided. However, since the young adventurer's clothes are coated in slime tears, he managed to have the damage. He likely would have a gaping hole in his stomach if it weren't for his unrivaled luck stat. Hashi backed up in shock, not expecting his partner to get taken down in one hit. He's told to give up right away if he still wants to be forgiven. The crawler refused to be underestimated, confident in his abilities to handle warriors from agreeing that he can't reach him from so far away. Yuki kept his sword for now. It looked like he was surrendering for a moment, but the young man suddenly reached into his storage and took out a mage staff that was adorned with a variety of flowers. Hashi couldn't help but cackle upon seeing this, and he asks if the user even knows what he's holding. Waving it around, he says he knows exactly what he's holding. It's the Staff of Nonsense, which he picked up from the fruitless torrent earlier. In the end, he looks just like an amateur. The staff, while a rare item, has a huge drawback wherein it activates magic so randomly, turning it unusable. On top of that, there's also an unfortunate bias when it comes to the odds of casting an actually useful spell. The chance of failing is at 40%, and there is a 30% chance of casting near beginner magic. There are several more cons, and it'd take an extremely lucky person to make it work. Regardless, it'd normally be impossible to use the staff for the purpose intended. On the other hand, Hashi was able to cast an intermediate-level fireball. Even if the odds work out for the adventurer and he manages to use a similar level skill, the crawler's spell will be stronger due to his magic-enhancing equipment. In other words, he's practically guaranteed to win as a mage. Flame gathered and grew as he announced the end of the young man's luck. With this, he launched the fireball forward and sped towards the target with a raging blaze. Surprisingly, Yuki was completely unbothered and yawned as he said it took the enemy so long that he also finished preparing his spell. Magic gathered around the nonsense staff, and a dark flaming ball appeared at its tip. It grew larger and larger until it became comparable to a small meteor. The ardent fire radiated Keith singing the nearby trees. With one swing of the staff, the caster sent it forward. Burning through the forest, it reached the crawler's fireball, which was now minuscule in comparison, and devoured it whole. Hashi fell back in utter disbelief, unable to understand how the enemy drew advanced meteor magic, which had a 0.5% chance. The attack was hurtling toward him, and the power was so ridiculous that he could only convince himself that it was an illusion. Just then, the hair on his head was ignited. His clothes quickly followed, and it became painfully clear that the blazing mass of rock was real. With this, he screamed and wet his pants in terror. The attack hit, and the flames ate through everything in the radius. After a while, the fire subsided, revealing burnt trees and a huge crater where the meteor hit. In the middle of it all was Hashi, completely taken out after the huge attack. The Staff of Nonsense was in a similar state, but Yuki couldn't care less about the rare item. He tossed it to the ground, apologizing to his opponent as he was just too lucky for such tricks. The crawlers were unconscious on the ground, suffering a one-sided defeat from Yuki. Since they are still at a dungeon, he concludes that he can't just leave them there. It's a pain, but he cuts some vines up to take the pair outside. They are restrained in no time and are ready for quick transport. With this, the young man dragged them around, pulling and tugging the bodies back up to the dungeon entrance. He surrendered them to the police upon returning, and the sun had already set by the time questioning finished. The next day, he went back to the guild as usual and apologized for being late as he got caught up in some trouble. To his surprise, the receptionist recognized him, saying the police already informed them about the incident. Before he could even say something, she suddenly rang a bell and congratulations and announced that he'd earned a silver rank and badge. The young man stared at it, skeptical, as he shouldn't have enough points for that yet. Ranking up to silver is no easy feat, and it usually takes talented people 3 years to do so. One has to gather requested items and hunt powerful monsters to make enough contributions to the guild. The staff says it's no mistake as he captured 2 members of the Red Arm Gang. It's a widespread criminal organization, and catching them would definitely earn a ton of contribution points. Commending him for doing so, she adds that Hashi and Yama were equivalent to silver rank adventurers. He doubts his ears, not realizing that the two were actually pretty strong and could have caused him real trouble. Accepting the badge, he brushes it off as getting lucky. Praising his modesty, the woman adds that she looks forward to his exploits beyond the 10th floor. The floors an adventurer can challenge are limited by their rank. Copper can go down to 10th, silver to 30th, while gold has no restrictions whatsoever. Wearing the amulet, he says he'd like to reach the 20th floor at the very least. While she's rooting for him, the staff warns that floor is notoriously difficult. As a prerequisite, she recommends gathering a bunch of people to challenge it together. The young man politely thanks her for the advice and leaves. He had ranked up much sooner than expected, meaning his encounter with the crawlers was also lucky. Just then, a voice called to him. An old and wealthy-looking man asked if he could spare a moment of his time. First off, they confirmed that he's the adventurer who defeated the pair of gangsters. He points to the posters on the wall indicating Hashi and Yama's crimes, including murder. As Yuki says that he just turned the tables on them, the man trembled. To his surprise, the stranger took his hands with tears in his eyes and thanked him with all his heart. Apparently, the pair killed his son, and although the police couldn't find them, the adventurer brought the criminals to justice. He consoles him, saying he just did his duty as a member of the guild. Regardless, the man bowed deeply, sincerely expressing his gratitude. Now, he can finally go to his son's grave and tell him about the wonderful news. Looking back, Yuki doesn't remember being thanked even once in his previous life. It feels pretty good despite being unfamiliar. With this, he remembers that he died on the day of a massive outbreak in the world. Since he already knows about that future, he wonders if he can do something to change at this time. He stops himself from having these thoughts, saying it's a goal far too big for now. Waking up with a hard slap to the face, he reminds himself that he first needs to save his mother. Reminded of his top priority, he walked out to continue his day. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit cavern where weapons lay spread out, a man banged on the table with rage. He couldn't believe that Hashi and Yama were done in so easily. Now the other guys won't learn their lessons. To make matters worse, he won't be able to pay their taxes to the big guy. His eyes darted to the blades on the table and he took one out. Vowing to never let the culprit get away with it, he drives the blade into a newspaper showing Yuki's face and promises to kill him sooner or later. For a moment, he glowered with fury, but the fire in his eyes suddenly died down to a calm flame. He still needs to approach with caution. After all, the enemy took Hashi and Yama down all by himself. There's no doubt that he's strong and will need proper preparation before facing. Still, no matter how strong he is, the man has certain ways to get rid of his enemies. Wearing a white hood over his head, Kido says Yuki's luck has run out now that is after him. A harsh sunlight shined down as Yuki reached the dungeon's 15th floor, the lonely Death Mountain. It's a place with winding narrow passages and a lethal treacherous terrain. Due to its geographical features, it's difficult to clear with a group as they resort to splitting up. What's more, there are rumors of it being a breeding ground for crime. Throwing his blade and driving it into the walls, he uses it as a platform to jump over everyone and dominates the stage that's perfect for a soul adventure like him. Quickly retrieving the weapon, he immediately moves on to face a huge monster eager to learn and grow enough to challenge the 20th floor. He wanted to level up by hunting silver slimes, but they stopped appearing after he hunted too many. Now plowing through all the monsters in his way, he focuses on quantity to level up. With burning determination, the young man kept going, not caring which or how many monsters he had to slay. With each kill, he receives a bunch of valuable item drops inaccessible to the common adventurer, a familiar figure with a white hood washed, listing down characteristics such as solo slime sword and fighting without armor. The man from the cavern confirms without a doubt that it's the man who defeated his comrades. To make things worse, the cocky adventurer is stepping into his turf. There's no need to attack immediately, so Kido calms himself down for now. He'll stay in the shadows and wait for the young man to lower his guard. Night falls soon enough, so Yuki sets a campfire up. From the looks of it, he seemingly plans to stay on the floor for a long time. Taking this into consideration, the criminal brightens up, saying he has an incredible idea. He turns away to leave, realizing that he doesn't even need to intervene directly. Lit by the red moon, he ran to make use of his turf, where he undoubtedly has the upper hand. Like in the natural world, monsters have ecosystems, and knowing that can be used to his advantage. Preying on the top monster first, he starts by reducing the number of predators. With nothing to eat them, this would inevitably lead to the increase in prey, more so if Kato showers them with food and supplements. Monsters grow at a rapid pace, and if the pyramid of power crumbles, they'll easily start overbreeding. Lying in wait, he says something big should happen soon enough, and whatever will happen then will be ruled out as a common accident for adventurers. The news will spread that an unlucky adventurer was caught in a swarm of rampaging monsters. This way, the incident won't catch attention both from the public and the authorities. Standing over the monster's breeding grounds, he smiled upon seeing things work according to plan. As the finishing touch, he throws a bag of insect-repellent powder into the chasm, prompting them to take flight and wreak havoc throughout the land. Countless insects flew, ready to devour everything in their path without leaving a single bone behind. Meanwhile, Kido laughed maniacally. Yuki was still busily fighting random monsters when he heard a faint buzzing that grew louder and louder. Turning around to see what it was, he's stunned to find darkness enveloping the area. It looked like black clouds at first, but he soon realized that it was a swarm of deadly death hoppers. With a quick look, he immediately knows that it's too much for one person to handle. He ran in the opposite direction, desperate to find other people to team up with and wondering where adventurers might gather. Thinking about it for a while, he remembers his previous life where there used to be a supply base on that floor. Since the base was built on the red dirt cave, clearing the floor has been much easier. For some reason, it wasn't in the walkthrough file he studied days before. Meters away from the cave and with no time to lose, he jumped down the cliff and bounced off a frog monster to reach his destination. He identifies the right spot, finding a slightly different color from the others. Wanting to get their attention, he screamed about a monster panic and begged for their help. However, no answer came. Since the death hoppers were closing in fast, it was an emergency, and he had to barge in with or without their permission. The opening burst open with his attack, and in the dark was a shocking sight. Humans were bound and gagged, trapped in a lightless cave. Completely restrained, a bunch of confused and hopeful faces looked up at Yuki. Approaching with caution, he asks if he just accidentally walked in on one of their weird hobbies. They profusely reject the idea, wanting no such misunderstanding. Since things are exactly as they seem to be, the adventurer takes his blade out and cuts through the ropes binding them in one smooth motion. Freed from their restraints, the captives thanked him, having thought that they were already done for. With his prompting, they share that they were attacked by crawlers and knocked out cold by some abnormal status items. Moreover, the fact that they weren't killed means they were supposed to be sold off. To sum it all up, they were inside a crawler's den used for human trafficking. He wonders what went wrong, clearly remembering that it was supposed to be a guild base. Finally, he realizes that he might have gotten there before it was renovated and repurposed. In the near future, the public authority is supposed to capture some crawlers in the area and ends up turning the den into a supply camp for adventurers. Now he ended up finding it before all that took place. It's understandable that he was confused since he spent most of his time leveling up with slimes. The old man's sense of time was off by about 10 years, but it can be a problem for later on. He has a different problem now. The current situation is unexpected, but he has to make do with the manpower that's available. Saying he understands the situation, Yuki apologizes for the abruptness of his request and asks that they listen. He points outside and tells them about the quickly approaching swarm of death hoppers. Even from afar, the swarm seemed unending and basically covered the entire sky. Stepping out to look, the captives couldn't believe it as the insects looked like a huge black cloud. It was a monster panic, but even this was too bad to be true. As they could see, the situation was urgent and they didn't have enough time. If they wanted to survive, the only option was to cooperate with Yuki. They look on in confusion and skepticism. While it's a number they can't run from, it's essentially impossible to fight back without their equipment. All their stuff was taken by the crawlers when they were knocked out cold. Fortunately, such matters pose no problem for the adventurer who has so many weapons and armor that they are all just rotting away in his storage. Told to use whatever they would like, the others stared in shock as the items rained down. Yuki even offers to transfer ownership of the ones they pick out. The offer is unbelievable as the collection consisted of top items from the floor and were all rare drops not everyone can get hold of. Looking at the unbothered adventurer, they start to wonder just who he is since they'd never even seen him appear in the rankings before. Letting it go for now, they start choosing the items they are going to use. While some value the weapons they are choosing, others prioritize which armor to put on their bodies. Regardless, all of the things there would be worth a fortune if sold. They ask again if they can really take all of it. Yuki chimes in, saying he won't force them to do something in exchange, but asks if they would allow him to take command of the operation. It's not even a question anymore after he saved their lives and showered them with invaluable equipment. With this, everyone accepts him as their leader for now, unwilling to let themselves fall prey to a monster panic. He requested cooperation in the first place, but Yuki found their reception surprising, especially after spending his previous life isolated and pushed away like a useless gnat. He bows in gratitude, feeling respected for the first time. After this, he stands tall with newfound resolve. The plan is to take advantage of the cave's narrow opening. With this, a bottleneck will form, and they would only have to fight a few enemies at once. The goal is to work on reducing their numbers until they can manage to take on rest. His new teammates nodding understanding, and it's finally time for battle. Together, they face the inconceivable swarm of enemies, slashing, shooting, and striking all the insects in sight. The group of adventurers whittled down at the huge horde of death hoppers charging in. While they were already able to take several down, the sheer number left many more crowding the entrance. Unable to squeeze everyone through the small opening, they perched on the mountain and started eating through the hard walls. On the other hand, the main hole was swamped, leaving the adventurers struggling to cope with the onslaught. They all did their best to fend them off, but things weren't working out, and things would turn sour soon enough. At this rate, stopping them would be impossible. Just then, the ceiling began to fall out and crumble, leaving gaping holes above. Everyone retreats to safety, taking care not to break formation. Soon enough, the entire area collapses and the monsters quickly swarm into attack. The mountain was being torn apart, and if they didn't do anything, they were next. Looking around, Yuki realizes that the area itself was an unstable and abandoned mine. Littered around the floors were piles of unused dynamite. The explosives might have been left there as the crawlers intended to expand their base. With the right plan, they should be able to use it to get rid of the enemies. Taking the first pile of crude dynamite, he tells the others to find and retrieve the others. Some doubt the effectiveness of what he plans to do, but all follow his orders nonetheless. The group fought desperately against the hoppers, pushing them back and retreating when needed. It lasted for several hours and around 2/3 of the Triangle Mountains were destroyed. However, the horror continued to attack, not letting up despite all their efforts. The monsters eventually managed to corner them as their stamina was running low and the walls were about to collapse entirely. Yuki looks over the cliff. Now that it's come to this, he calls to everyone and tells them to hand all the dynamite over to him. They do as told, but doubt that he has enough to take them all down. In other words, it'll be like pouring drops of water on a hot stone. Catching the explosives, he says is going to blow the cliff up and bury all the enemies instead. Monsters with low intelligence usually just target those that pose a greater threat. Since he's killed the most of their kind among their group, the target will undoubtedly be him. A hole opened above the ceiling, and everyone ran to dodge the rocks that were falling. They asked if he plans to bring the hoppers down with him, knowing that warriors can't even activate explosives. Not answering directly, he tells them to just trust in him. Standing still by the cliff, UK lured all the hoppers his way. To him, there are times in life where one must inevitably take risks. Since now seems to be that time, he activates the dynamite and throws himself into the chasm while cursing the insects with a smile. Just then, the system warns that the probability of detonation was low due to his class. He already knows this, but has faith in the power of his luck value. Another warning, now about the item quality, which lowers detonation probability more. His luck comes through and activates the dynamite despite it all. The explosion is huge, and while not all the insects are killed, they are damaged enough to fall into the chasm with him. They hit the walls and rocks. Meanwhile, Yuki's face was completely focused as he looked for a way to get back up right away. He leaped from stone to stone, slowly but nimbly making his way to the surface. He even cut a huge boulder blocking his way, but what flew above him was one final hopper, which refused to fall for his tricks. Watching it snarl at him, Yuki aimed his blade to end things. With a bee-sting attack, he pierces through its huge body and hits another critical strike. However, the consequence of the encounter is that all his momentum had been killed. Now the young man was falling short, unable to make it back to the cliff. He tries his best, even driving his blade into the wall to stop his fall. Unfortunately, the structure is too weak and lets go of his blade. Yuki was falling. Despite all these efforts, he was going to fail. Just then, he sees a rope speeding towards him, and hears an order to grab it fast. As it latched around his arm, he gripped the tether tight, and the adventurers pulled him back from the other side. The sun was setting, and they looked at the wreckage left by the daunting and exhausting battle. The panic was quelled, and the hoppers were all buried in the chasm. In the end, it looks like he won the bet after all. Considering the scale of the attack, it's a miracle that there were no casualties. As they celebrated the unbelievable conclusion to it all, the system chimed, granting Yuki the title of exterminator due to his feat of killing a large number of insect-type monsters. What's more, he leveled up a bunch and learned a new skill, Warrior's Intuition. Kido knocks his things apart, unable to believe that Yuki completely stopped the monster panic. To make matters worse, he even crushed Shinoji. At this rate, the gang leader's failures are going to get him killed by those on top, and it's all because of the young adventurer who keeps messing them up. After downing a glass of alcohol, he shatters the bottle on the wall and vows to kill the man in a rage. He's seethed with anger, even willing to stake his life on it. Yuki was back at the guild and could sense the people talking and watching. Since the incident, he's gotten a lot more famous, and even the receptionist constantly recognized him. Some call him the Mountain Crusher who continues to save more and more people. His reputation has spread so much that others have tried recruiting them into their parties. He declines all offers with an apology, saying he had other things to do. Making companions wasn't something he could do now. After all, it'll only make his goal of obtaining the elixir a little bit harder to achieve. Reward distribution in group battles is random, meaning the drop could go to someone else. On top of that, the rarity of other people's drop items are low compared to his. This at least confirms that his luck isn't omnipotent after all. That being said, he's already used to adventuring alone, and there was no point in changing that now. Returning home, he's greeted by a luxurious and bountiful spread of food. Clasping his hands together, he thanks everyone for the meal. The ladies do so as well, and they have their meal as one big happy family. The pork has a nostalgic taste, and even though they were poor, they never missed out on special celebrations. Nomi says it's amazing that he's challenging the 20th floor so soon. Having heard about how difficult that floor is, they can't help but worry for his safety. What's more, only around 15% of people are able to conquer that floor. Yuki assures them that things will be fine, adding that he's already achieved so much. His mother is glad that he's doing good for the world out there, but it pains her to see him pushing himself so much all the time. It's not something a parent wants to see. Her words hit him, and he remembers the sight of her dead body from his past life. With a smile, the son argues that no child wants to see their parents unhealthy either. She tries to argue, but Nomi knows that there's no point arguing with her stubborn brother. Once he set his mind on something, not even a lever could make him budge. The mother sighs in resignation and says that part of him is just like his father. Regardless, there's no need to worry about him as he's doing all this because he wants to. He couldn't save his mother in his past life, and that fact constantly pierced through his heart like a stake. To erase that past and truly start a life anew, obtaining the elixir is a non-negotiable. Finishing his meal, he thanks them again. Soon enough, Yuki was trotting down the dungeon and had made it to the 20th floor. Pushing through, he encounters a bunch of humanoid automatons. All monsters on that floor were inorganic, so he spit past them, taking them out as fast as he possibly could. After all, heartless and unfeeling killers are a huge threat. A couple of gargoyles came to life and dove into attack from above. Conversely, these beings have a systematic way of thinking, making them easy to read. Seeing a red beam in the dark, he stops in his tracks, and he faces a large golem whose footsteps made the ground shake beneath them. If he analyzes their patterns well enough, defeating such creatures would be guaranteed. As expected, the enemy attacked repeatedly, and he easily found the pattern to dodge. With a quick counter, the adventurer strikes and shatters the core. Just like that, he quickly moved past the rest of the obstacles in his way, and found himself standing in front of huge doors. As it was time to go, Yuki put both hands ready to mark the beginning of his new life. Yuki stands in front of the boss's room door waiting intently as it slowly opens. He enters revealing a large room with a magic circle design at its center. The door loudly shuts behind him, yet all of Yuki's attention is at the center of the room. The circle glows and makes a large heavily armored giant golem appear. Every crevice of its body signals that this is a strong and ancient enemy. The ancient golem's one eye glows, signaling that it is awake. Yuki runs towards the boss while analyzing that it is both tough and strong. As he dodges its strikes, he analyzes that its speed is only ordinary. He manages to reach one of its shoulders and hit it with his sword. His plan is to take advantage of its slow movement to chip away at it until he reaches its weak point, its core. Meanwhile, Kido is just behind the entrance gate, taking a peek at the battle with a huge smile on his face. Suddenly, the magic circle in the room glows, making another golem appear. Yuki becomes rattled and confused at the appearance of another boss. He looks at the door suspecting that there must be an intruder who has set this up. However, no matter how much he tries, he senses no one. He faces the battle, thinking that it must be his newbie mistake not to be ready for two bosses. Suddenly, a dagger is thrown towards him. With his quick instinct, he manages to parry it with his sword. It signals to him that someone is pulling the strings for this to happen. Meanwhile, Kido is behind a pillar, frustrated that he did not get Yuki despite this setback. He is confident that he still has the advantage. He recalls researching the ancient golem and judging Yuki as an idiot since the adventurer's website told him that it usually takes 4 people to defeat it. He laid out the plan to purposely get into the boss's room to make the second golem appear. He was confident that he would not be seen by the boss or Yuki because of his high stats as a thief. He runs towards the second golem while hiding his presence and then aggravates it by throwing a dagger at it. After hiding behind a pillar again, the second golem approaches Yuki with killing intent. Kido is behind the pillar, smiling at his plan and confident he will never be found out because of his invisibility cloak. The 2 golems attack Yuki, and all the while Kido concludes that this battle is really a 3-on-1. Continues his schemes by putting poison on his dagger and then throwing it at Yuki. Despite the man not looking behind him, the dagger only scratches him. The poison effect fails, making Kido think the man must be hiding anti-poison equipment. His confidence is not spurred as he continues to put hundreds of small spikes on the ground. He then adds hundreds of needle-firing balls. He ties up barbed wire between pillars that electrify on touch. He even throws in a poison gas canister. The thief continues to smile, thinking it will only be a matter of time until the boss finishes Yuki off. He climbs to the ceiling where he relaxes while watching the fight. Kido gets alert as he sees that Yuki is looking at him. The man asks him if he is already out of tricks. He gets shocked, unable to fathom how he found him out. Yuki grabs his dagger on the ground and throws it back at him. Kido swats it away. Yuki tells him that he found him using the skill of warrior's intuition. Kido thinks he is mocking him since he sees no way such a low-ranking skill can find a high-level thief like him. Yuki asks if he will run away now. His mocking angers the thief, who removes his invisibility cloak and jumps inside the battlefield with 2 daggers in both hands while screaming that he is better than him. Yuki blocks and then repels him. The man replies that only the winner of the battle can say that. Kido continues to think that Yuki was lying when he said he found him with warrior's intuition, and it only frustrates him. Yuki reviews that he was not lying and tells the readers that warrior's intuition is a skill that detects danger in the user's surroundings, but that the chances of activating it are low. Yuki smiles at the thought of probability being useless when it comes to him. In his perspective, every trap laid out by the thief can be seen as bright as stars. Kido charges at him until they cross blades. With each strike, the thief brags that he is higher than him in agility and accuracy. He manages to cut Yuki's arm, but the paralysis poison on the sword does not go into effect. Still, Kido compliments Yuki for getting ready for him. Yuki jumps towards one of the golems and uses it as a foothold to jump behind Kido. The thief evades his strike. Yuki follows up with a sword thrust known as B-Sting. Despite knowing that this is a guaranteed hit, Kido laughs. He uses the skill known as Butterfly Dance, making an evade, while an after midge double takes the hit for him. Kido reappears behind Yuki. The thief rushes towards him again and is able to wound his leg. Kido declares that a slow warrior like him can never catch up to him. Meanwhile, the golem behind Yuki powers up its eye. It blasts him with a laser beam that he only barely dodges. Again, Kido attacks Yuki. The boss also strikes at the thief, but he can dodge them without even looking at them. He brags that as long as he already has all the information about the 20th floor, nothing can stop him from getting to Yuki. Their crossing of blades continues. Eventually, Yuki steps on one of Kido's spikes and gets cornered to a wall. Kido makes a double sword slicing movement that becomes an air-cutting projectile towards Yuki. He blocks it, but it also moves him further to the wall until he slams into it. The impact mix and drop his sword. Kido approaches him and warns him that this is his end. As the swords get nearer, Yuki looks scared. Suddenly, Yuki smiles and tells him that he was only kidding. He presses one of the bricks on the wall, activating a spell that traps Kido in a levitating sphere of light. Yuki tells him that he has underestimated the 20th level. The information they know about it only applies to normal circumstances where no one sneaks into a boss's room while another is already in it. While golems are trying to hit Yuki, he dodges while explaining to Kido that the bosses and traps in the room have changed because of his intervention. He mocks the thief for not being perceptive enough to spot the new traps. Meanwhile, the 2 golems are closing in on Kido. They strike him while he is unable to move. As he lies on the ground, one of them lifts him up and then slams him back to the ground. Even in his weakened state, the thought that a low-rank warrior like Yuki was able to detect a trap that a thief like him could not trouble him. Yuki replies that he told him from the start that he was using the warrior's intuition. Kido is trying to move, but does not have the strength for it. Yuki tells him to sit tight and warns him that if he is still alive after he beats the boss, he will take him to the police. Still, the thief tries to get up. He screams out that he will drag him to hell with him. Kido wears dynamite all over his body. A graphic window appears to ask Kido if he will use the dynamite. He presses yes, causing a huge explosion. The explosion breaks the ground, causing it to collapse. Yuki falls to the bit below. He hits the next floor where he lies in pain. Yuki looks up to see how high he fell. He marvels at how it turns out that there is a hidden room no one knows about. Suddenly, the golem jumps down and corners him from the front and back. Behind the golem in front of him, Yuki spots a glowing object. Looking closely, he realizes that it is a treasure chest. It makes him realize that he is in a hidden treasure room. Yuki observes that the room is too cramped for him to evade the golem's attacks. He bets his fate on the contents of the treasure chest. Quickly, he runs towards it. The golem tries to strike him, but he evades. He manages to jump towards the treasure chest. Before he can get to it, the golem elbows him off his trajectory, slamming him into a wall. Yuki tries to get up, relieved that his spine is not broken. Before he can move, the golem's giant arm is about to hit him from on top of him. He tries to evade, but it still hits him by his legs. The agony is too much for him to bear. He is left on the ground with flattened legs. Still, the man tries to crawl. He tells himself not to give up no matter what excruciating pain he feels. Again, the golem mashes his legs. Again, he feels the agony. He recalls his past life and how what he is feeling now is nothing compared to the pain of hopelessness he felt back then. Slowly, he gets nearer to the glow of the treasure. He touches and opens it to reveal a bracelet with a jewel at its center. The man smiles as he recognizes the symbol on the jewel. He grabs the bracelet and wears it on his arm. Yuki smiles as the bracelet glows around his arm, knowing that this is the warp bracelet. His notification informs him that it is a rare item that allows the user to teleport. The graphic window asks if he wants to use it. Meanwhile, the golem is readying another strike behind him. The graphic window warns Yuki that his profession is not compatible with the magic tool, so he only has a 50% chance of activating it. It also warns him that his magic power is not enough to use it, putting a probability of activating it at 35%. All the while the golem is about to fall on him, the golem falls. Suddenly, the graphic window states that warping instantly, Yuki reappears above the golem and hits it at its core as he falls. His resolve is still high as he declares that he will win. The golem gets back up by using a laser beam to push itself off the ground. Yuki admits that his enemies are tough. He is not deterred as he activates his warp bracelet again, transferring himself from one golem to the other. Just as he hits it in the eye, the golem gets up, taking Yuki off his balance. He sees that the other golem behind him is about to hit him. He teleports behind it. The golem tries to hit him again, but he teleports to evade again. This time, Yuki appears in front of the other golem and pierces its glowing core. He teleports again, this time reappearing behind the other golem where he hits it at its core. The core cracks. Again, he teleports, cracking the other golem's core too. Over and over, he teleports, repeating the same pattern. Then he teleports in front of both golems. He declares that he will bet on everything with this move. Both golems rush towards him at the same time. Just as their punches are about to hit him, he teleports out of the way. Both golems punch each other, as a result, the impact of which cracks their cores more. Yuki reappears behind one of the golems. He thrusts his sword, breaking its core completely. He then teleports in front of the other golem and then slices its core, also breaking it into pieces. With both enemies breaking, Yuki falls to the ground. The warp bracelet notification tells him that he has used the device's limit. As he lies motionless, the graphic informs him that he has just defeated the golems and has been rewarded with L-rank item, elixir. 2 bottles of elixir fall from above like divinity. He opens and drinks one of the bottles. With it, his body glows with green energy. Slowly, he feels all his wounds heal up. With everything wrapped up, the man lies again to rest. He looks upwards to the glow of the boss's room's light in peace. He then looks at the last bottle of elixir in his hand with a sigh of relief. His graphic informs him that he will be granted a new title. He is granted the titles of Survivor, Solo Double Giant Killing, and Enforcer of Justice. All titles add more points to his overall stats. Yuki puts the elixir in his item storage. Simply seeing the elixir on his list puts a smile on his face. With multiple jumps, he climbs until he reaches the boss's room. There, he sees Kido's invisibility cloak still on the ground. He picks it up and wonders if he can use it as evidence of the thief's crime. He then walks to the gate and pushes it open. Simply seeing the light from outside makes him feel like everything will be okay. Yuki later returns to the guild where he reports everything. He shows the receptionist the invisibility cloak, which shocks her into running to her supervisor. Later, the supervisor appears to ask Yuki if they can interview him. With the elixir in his hand, he feels like he does not have the time. Yuki apologizes and tells him that he has urgent business to attend to. He runs in the streets to get to his mom as soon as possible. He is so much in a rush that he does not notice that people are talking about him and that a billboard just above him is featuring the news that shows his face in his record time of defeating the 20th floor boss all by himself. Eventually, he reaches the apartment building. Upon opening his home door, he is greeted warmly by the women of his family. Yuki greets them with a smile and tells them that he is back. Later, the family visits the hospital where a doctor tells them that their examination of the mother already has results. The family is at the edge of their seats waiting for the doctor to speak up about it. The doctor finally informs them that their mother's illness has been completely cured. Nomi instantly hugs her mother and tells her how glad she is. Their mother thanks Yuki for everything he did for her. Yuki replies with tears in his eyes with a thank you for raising them. He recalls how he has always longed to say this to his mother. The old man inside him feels like he has achieved something he could not before. Nomi reminds her brother that he is still in front of the doctor and that he should say these things for when they get home. While she wipes her tears, Nomi asks that he should pay close attention to his surroundings. Suddenly, time stops. From outside the window stalks a shadow of a person. This person enters the window. He is revealed to be a blond man with regal armor and a red cloak. He shows sadness that he is about to break up a family. He approaches the unmoving Nomi, hoping that what he is about to do to her will someday be accepted by her loved ones. He talks about how they will think that she had a heart attack. With killing intent, this man tries to punch her. Suddenly, Yuki blocks his strike with his sword. He demands to know what the man is trying to do. Yuki then realizes that he is the hero. He recalls that he is the strongest adventurer with a ranking of number 1. Recalling the future, he understands that he is meant to be the world's savior against the armies of monsters. The hero casually introduces himself as Owen as if he did not just try to kill his sister. The man shows him his name tag to confirm that he is indeed the hero. Yuki asks him why the hero would attack his sister. Owen instead asks him how he is capable of moving in the void. Yuki feels seen as the man reveals that only those who are capable of moving in the void are those who have already experienced death. Owen asks him if he is a regressor. Yuki asks Owen if his question means he is also experiencing his second life. The hero is glad to see that he understands and finds relief that it will make things simpler to explain. Owen explains that he is trying to eliminate the risk that will lead to the world's destruction. Yuki demands to know what his sister, Nomi, has anything to do with it. Owen elaborates that the negative effects she will imbue on her husband will cause a chain reaction to their world's end. Kaya remembers the husband he is talking about. Owen continues to say that the husband she will have is a very important person. Once their marriage crumbles, the man will be drowned in depression, and his actions will be a direct cause of armies of monsters destroying the world. Owen wants to eliminate his sister before any of this happens. He asks with a cheerful face if he is satisfied with his explanation. Yuki retorts that he already changed the past when he cured his mother of her illness. He explains that this means Nomi's future work at nighttime to pay for their mother's medical expenses can't happen anymore. This also means that he will never have the opportunity to meet her future husband. He insists that there is no need for the hero to kill Nomi. Owen admits he might be right, but still has his doubts. The hero unleashes his sword and declares he will still kill her to make sure of the world's safety. Yuki replies that he will never let him kill her sister. Owen finds it troubling if he also needs to kill him since he does not want to cause any unnecessary casualties. He gets an idea. He wants Yuki to fight with him so the man can prove that his theory is possible. Yuki asks why it came down to a fight. The hero replies that he wants to know if he is special in any way that warrants him taking a risk. Yuki thinks he is looking down on him. Owen apologizes but shows his maxed out stats to show that he is really above him in every way. Yuki is shocked to see how every one of his skills is at 3000. Owen tells him that he is the way he is because one must be powerful to protect anyone. The hero raises his sword and asks that he choose to either fight or let his sister die. Yuki thinks about his options and if he can use the warp bracelet to escape his family instead. It dawns on him that Owen will just go after them regardless of whether they escape. Yuki answers that he will fight him. The hero raises his spirit. Owen lowers the stakes by not asking him to win against him. Instead, he explains that the rule is for Yuki to survive the fight against him for 10 minutes just when the void's effect ends. Yuki asks if they will fight where they stand. Owen replies that they can't destroy the hospital, so he jumps down the window to move to a different location. Yuki looks at his sister for the last time and then jumps down the window too with the resolve to protect her no matter what. Yuki and Owen go to the huge outside field for their battle. Owen cheerfully offers to begin the first attack. With a snap of his finger, multiple magic circles appear around him with differing colors that symbolize which elements they represent. All these circles fire elements at Yuki all at once. He manages to dodge and block each element. Owen follows up by materializing 2 light contract clones for himself. He rushes towards Yuki with his light clones backing him up. Yuki counters by summoning 2 substitute dolls. The real Owen crosses blades with him while the light clones attack the dolls. The hero praises him for his preparations, but warns him that he can't win by just defending against him. Yuki agrees and materializes his magic staff. He activates the high-level spell of a giant fireball. It hits Owen and explodes. Yuki hopes that at the very least his enemy got damaged from this. The hero comes out of the smoke without a scratch on him. Owen realizes that while his second life ability is a void barrier, his enemy has good luck. Looking at the hero, Yuki sees that his fireball only destroyed his light clones. He compliments the hero for seeing right through him. Owen replies that he realizes his ability through his recent achievements and actions. The hero tells him his belief that luck is also a part of one's abilities. He, however, warns him that there are things in this world that luck alone cannot deal with. The hero summons all his magic circles again. He declares that he is the challenge that his luck cannot solve. Out of the hero's elements appear elemental creatures. Yuki admits to him that he can't deal with him with just luck alone and can see only one advantage he can exploit. He remembers the hero status when he showed it to him earlier. While all his other skills were at max, his luck bar was at 0. He feels no shame in exploiting his lack of luck if it means protecting his family. He remembers his mother's death and his sister's terrible marriage and declares that there is nothing he would not do if it meant protecting his family. Meanwhile, On orders his elemental creatures to attack Yuki, all of whom unleash their powers towards the man. Yuki stands calm and materializes his warp bracelet. He activates his bracelet despite a graphic warning telling him that he has a low probability of using it successfully. He stands his ground as the elements approach. The graphic tells him that warp has been successful. He disappears at the last second. The elements are about to reach him. Yuki reappears on a road on top of a car. Owen and his elementals follow him. The hero hovers above him to show that he can fly anywhere to follow where he teleports. Yuki jumps off the car and says that they are going to continue the fight here, where there are so many people around. He tells the hero that if he is testing him, he will have to test him too. He expects that as a hero, he will not hurt the innocent around them. Owen finds his strategy interesting. He admits that as a hero who protects everyone, he will make casualties out of the innocent. Owen snaps his fingers, making his elemental creatures disappear. He also makes his sword disappear to avoid swinging it in the wrong direction. The hero materializes giant spears made of light and tells the opponent that he is still not handicapped enough. Yuki pulls out his sword and then materializes a shield out of his storage list. Owen tells him how he has faced many opponents who use civilians as a shield. He fires his light and all try to follow Yuki and avoid every civilian. One reaches Yuki, but he parries it with his shield. The spear instead hits a gas pipe that sprays out gas. Owen walks to find Yuki while talking about monsters and crawlers who try using civilians against him in his past life and how they became commonplace when the world was at its end. He summons earth magic that follows Yuki in the alley, exposing him. Yuki runs away while replying that he spent those same days held up in dungeons, how the surface was just a place to get food and supplies from time to time. Wherever Yuki goes, Owen spots him. The hero charges after him while asking for them to talk about their lives. Yuki gets under the truck beside him to avoid his punch. He tells the hero that his past life was sad. Owen kicks him from under the truck while telling him that he should have appreciated the blue skies more. Yuki blocks the kick with his shield, but it is so powerful that it sends him off the truck and slams him onto a building wall. He gets up and tells the hero that he is more of an inside type of person. Yuki grabs a skateboard and rides it away from the hero. Owen does not like that he is running away when he wants to see if he can prove himself special to him. The hero summons multiple light beams that block Yuki's path. With him cornered, Owen rushes towards him with a ready punch. Yuki sees a nearby pillar beside him. He kicks it, causing it to fall. He tells the hero that it is time for his counterattacks. The pillar slowly falls, making Owen tense up. He sees the innocent bystander behind him and so chooses to catch it instead of avoiding it. Yuki claps his hand for his showing of never forsaking the innocent. Owen admits that he surprised him. Yuki assures him that it is not yet over as it reveals that the fallen pillar also broke an electric wire. The wire sways and sways violently until it sets a spark at the gas pipe. Suddenly, a building near them explodes. Owen orders his water elemental, Undying, to get to the building fast. The creature splashes water all over the fire. Yuki tells him teasingly that he is not putting enough water on it. In seconds, the fire spreads to the trees in the road. The trees fall, leaving cracks on the ground that collect and make a giant sinkhole that is about to swallow up vehicles and people. Owen is getting overwhelmed. He summons his air and earth elementals, as well as light clones of himself to get to as many people as he can. All of them hurry to carry people out of danger or get them out of cars. Yuki approaches Owen and asks if he has already forgotten about him. The hero does not even look at him when he tells him that his hands are full. Yuki admits that he does not have any attacks that can damage him, only ones that can disturb him. He uses his shield to ram Owen, pushing him into the sinkhole. The hero grabs onto the ledge to not let himself fall. Still, Yuki stomps on the ledge to break it. Owen slams into the muddy water. The hero shows his annoyance at him. Yuki pulls out his magic wand, threatening to make things worse for him. Owen raises his hands and finally surrenders. With the battle over, they sit side by side while Owen wipes away the sewer water off him. He congratulates Yuki for using his bad luck against him. Still, it makes him wonder how he got to unleash so many accidents in a row. He realizes that Yuki remembered the places where accidents occurred in his previous life. Yuki admits it and remembers himself honoring accidents. It makes him realize that the miserable parts of his life can be useful from time to time. He asks the hero if he has already seen enough proof that he can stop the future about his sister. Owen claps his hands and says he has. However, he still wants Yuki to accompany him for a while. He explains that since the void barrier is about to disappear, he needs to fix the damages as quickly as he can before time starts moving again. He wants Yuki to go back to the hospital so he can make countermeasures against the cure-born disaster. Yuki has no idea what he is talking about, nor has he ever heard of such a disaster. Owen is shocked he does not know about the cure-born disaster that will occur at the hospital. He assumes he would since he also regressed like him, but Yuki says he has no idea what it is. It is so impossible to Owen that he thinks the man is joking. Still, Yuki says he really does not know. Owen screams at him for not knowing about such a big incident. He asks how he does not know of this when he knows about the fire and the road cave-in. Yuki says that he spent most of his time in the dungeon and that he does not know many outside events. Owen sees that his lack of knowledge means he can't counteract the Q-born disaster. Yuki admits he has none. Frustrating the hero, Owen sees that he has no time to explain it as the void barrier is about to break down. He tells the man that he needs to go to the morgue to understand what the disaster is. Owen elaborates that he will join him once he can, but that he needs to move quickly to avoid severe ties. It makes Yuki realize that this is serious. Just as he was about to ask questions, the hero disappeared. Yuki uses his warp bracelet leading him back to the hospital. The moment he disappears, time restarts with people walking the streets again. Yuki is again with his family talking to the doctor. He looks calm, but he is secretly tense. He looks at his happy mother and sister, not knowing what he needs to tell them. They leave the doctor's office with Yuki trying to think of ways to get his family out of the hospital. His mom and sister talk about food, leading him to suggest that he cook for them as a celebration. The ladies are intrigued that he is suggesting something unusual. He asks that they head home while he does the shopping. He watches the two leave excited for their dinner. With them gone, Yuki turns around to find a way to the morgue. He heads to the men's toilet. While inside one of the stalls, he wears Kido's invisible cloak. He recalls using the cloak mostly for low-ranking monsters to avoid him during his adventures and now feels guilty he needs to use it to sneak around the hospital. He leaves a stall, making one patient think the hospital is haunted. Yuki heads to the elevator and rides it down to the basement. The elevator door opens to reveal corridors with no people. Walking around, he finds the place too quiet to be any source of disaster. To be sure, he pulls out his radar sense to be on alert. It tells him that there is no danger around. He continues walking until he finds a door to the morgue. He opens it and finds a dark room filled with beds with dead bodies. He looks around, but nothing is happening. It occurs to him that the hero might just be messing with him. Suddenly, he senses a chill of danger. The bodies then move. They get up from their beds and approach him like mindless creatures. They roar like beasts desperate for food. Yuki faces the undead with his sword and says he finally understands. Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.